So this is how it's going to be work with when you create a particular data frame with column. So and if you want to check the data types, how data type is working, so you can easily create this. So now you can understand and which variable is representing which data type, and with a clear understand. So name is an object, it is a character variable, and age is an integer variable. Suppose if you want to change this into float, you can using details you can change the type of this particular column. And coming to the next thing, so how you can change the d type. So if you give, so now it is changed as a float. So now if you check the dtypes, it will be showing float 64. It is showing integer 64. Now it is float. So the overall data type is object, because if the format which I explained in the previous class, like first object, second is float, and integer, so like that. So that is the format. So it's going to be explained. So if you have the dictionary of India arrays, or dictionary of lists, so how you can create a data frame. So this is my first the character variable. So this is clear, and the age variable. So how you are going to create this. So let's explain how can you create this India arrays and also. So this it's giving a the clear idea about how can you create a data frame using dictionary dictionary of India arrays with n-dimensional arrays. So the same thing, if you want to change for the row name, so you can give the rank 1, rank 2, so it will be changing easier. It's very easily it will be changing. So apart from that, if you want to create a data frame from the list of dictionaries, so you can create using the particular different series. So here it will be row value, the column name will be the ABC. So earlier if you give this name in the series, so it is taking as a row name. Now it is taking as a column. So I hope you can understand the difference between these two things. How series is considering when you are creating your data dictionary, and how data frame treating the dictionary so when it is creating to the data frame. So then from the series of dictionary, so suppose you have you want to create uh, dictionary series, means uh, there is a dictionary, so using dictionary how you can create a series. So this is my data. So the first variable should be saying 1, and it has these observations. Second should be all this, so it has these observations. Let me create this, and I will convert these things into a data frame. So now it is look like this. So because the d has any value, so because here there is no d here. So if, instead of this, if you create any observations with 4, 5, and particular, so d is there. If I create f, so let's see the difference. So I think you can easily understand the difference of one. So now see the 5 observe value is assigned for f in the row, the column 1, but it is not exist in column 2, so that's why it's considering n. Suppose if you want to select a particular column from the data frame. So suppose if you want to make it equal, so for example if I give 5 value, and I will assign 40, so that the overall structure will be get changed. So you can understand the difference now. See, all are has to be converted as a integer. There is no float value, means there is no decimal in the data set. You just change this into different observations. So automatically it will be get changed into one float and one entity. See, so this is the difference when you are creating a series, a dictionary from a series. And suppose in the data frame, if you want to select particular column, how can you select a particular column? So if you df and one, what is the one particular this thing? So use this, you can enter. So it will show only the column which you want, and the observations, what are the observations you have in your data frame. Suppose if you want to add the observations into the data frame, so you can easily add all these things into the data frame. So this is, I'm going to create a data frame. So this is about, suppose I want to add the particular variable into my data frame. So I'm going to create first the data frame here, and I'll add into the data frame. This is series I'm going to create here, and the series should be assigned to this variable, and this variable should add into this data frame. So this is how you can add the variable into the new variable you can add into the data frame. So let me create this. So earlier it was only two row column, now it has been created three column. So if you okay, so before that let's go to the descriptive functions. Okay, so go back to that. So I'll be explaining once I move to that part. So suppose in your data set you want to create one more variable by using existing column. One more column means variable wants to create using the existing variable in the data frame. So how can you create this? So using the first or the second and third. So I'm going to create a fourth variable. So it will be created. So see, so I'm going to add the first variable, the variable name 2 and variable name 3, and I will create a variable name of 4. So you can see 1 plus 12 13, 23 plus 2 25. So this is how you can add variables in the data frame, and you can remove the variables, and all. So if you want to delete particular column from your data frame, so how can you delete? So see, this is, I'm going to print to make people understand. So our data frame is, so let me show you how my data frame it is now. So this is my data frame. So earlier here there is nothing like our data frame is. So here there is no caption here. So now I gave the caption using the print option. So now our data frame is like this. Suppose if I want to delete the first row of the data frame, how it will be? So if I want to delete the first row, so let's see how it is going to be changed. Sorry, this is not row. Sorry, this should be the column or variable. So this is going to be delete the first column. Now the first column has been deleted, and we are having the remaining three columns. So this is how you can delete those. And apart from delete function, so I can use the pop. So this is also going to be delete the particular column. So how it's going to be work? So let's understand how it is going to be work here. So if I enter this, so it has deleted the second column. So this pop function also using as how delete function is working, del function. So you can use both the functions to delete the rows and columns. So there is no difficulty over there. So this is how you're going to, you can use the pop function for deleting the particular column or particular variable in the dataset. So now let's move on to the same thing. How can we do it for a row? How to select a row and how to do addition, deletion in the rows. So first, let me create a data set. So let me create this data set once again, so that we can see the difference. It's coming down. So my data frame has been created. So let me check how my data frame it is now. So data frame now. So this is my data frame. 3 and 4 is there. So that is not my data frame. Data. Where is my data frame? Yes, this has to be created. And I want to create one more variable. So my data frame is look like this, and I'm going to select the first row. To select the row in the data frame, you should use the dot loc. Means if you want to use a particular row name, you can use the loc function, location. So the half of name they created as location. So our first three letters we are using loc. So there is different functions here. One is high loc, another one is loc. So loc will be helpful using the particular row name. You can select that observations. So let me enter. So see, using the first row, it's going to print what are all the variables. So it's going to be create 1, 2. So my data is this one. So I have created the data frame. So first data is 1 and 2 column. So it's going to be print the first observations of two of both the variables. So this is my name of particular selection, and this is a data type. Suppose instead of giving the row name, I want to give the index of row. Index of row means the what can I say, the number which is representing to that particular row. So that situation I need to use ILO. So it will be select those things. So the second observation is 3 3 in my data set. So this is what, let me print it here. I think it will be convenient for everyone, so that you can easily understand. So this is my this thing. So create one more variable here and select the particular location. And if I select no, now it is clear for you. So 0 1 2. So 2 means I selected the second index, the second the row number, assigning for the second row. So 0 1 2. So 2 is the value for both the variables 3 3. So it is showing 3 3. So see, now automatically it converts the data type as float. Suppose if you want slice rows, means if you want rows from this to here, so using that you can select that. So if you want 2 to 3, so 2 to 3 means when you are assigning slice, so the, the row number which is mentioning in the last, so it shouldn't be displayed. So if you mention this as a 4, so I think it will print 2. So it won't print the fourth variable, so it's printing second and third. So this is how you can do the slicing your rows. And if you want to add row into the particular data frame, so I'm going to create a data frame, values of this, and these are the columns. So let me create. So I'll print dear. how my first data frame is there. So it has, this is the observations, this is the row name and this is the column name AV, and these are the observations. I'm going to print df2. So this is this name, and this is the uh, column name and observation. So I'm going to append these rows into my data frame using the append function. So means I'm going to add the rows into my data frame. How I'm going to use this thing? So this will be easy. So uh, df dot append which data frame you want to append. So df2 I'm going to append. So using this, you can easily append the data frame. So if you print this, it will give the clear idea, means it will give the complete data frame, which is including the df2 data frame 2. So 0101 and 4567 4567. So it is added in the down. So suppose if you want to delete the rows in the data frame, how can you delete? So if you give the draft function with the particular data frame, so it will be deleting that particular row. See, so my data frame having the index number of 0 twice. So it is completely deleting wherever the index number is 0, and it's remaining the 1 wherever 1 is there in the data frame. So this is how it is working with the row, and this is how we can do the things for a column and rows. And apart from that, let's start with some basic functionalities of series. How can we how can check the access, how can we create random numbers. So let's start with the basic functionality of series. So this is mainly for the series. So after that, I'm going to explain about the for the data frame. So as like what we are doing here, so the same thing we can do for the data frame. So I'm going to explain. I'm going to start. I'm going to create a series with the 100 random numbers. So this is okay. So let me take only 10 because random 100 will be more. So I'm going to create a series with a random number. So if you want to create a random number, so you have to use a numpy. So as I told you in the beginning of the session that it works mainly based on the numpy library, because whenever you are doing any kind of numerical things in the pandas library, so it completely rely on numpy package, numpy library. Let me print this series. So it is selected the 10 random number, it has been created and it is in a float. Obviously a random number is having the decimal. So this is the random number which I generated randomly. Suppose you have the series and you are going to understand the list of labels of the series, means how many axes are there in your series. So to check this, you can use printS.axis, so you can understand when your axis started and when your this thing closed. So this is my data frame. Okay, so I think it will be better to print yes first, then it will be easy for you to understand. See, this is my the random number, the series which I generated for the 0 1 2 3 rows I have. These are the random numbers and this float. So now my axes are start from 0, so this is 0 and stop at 4. 0 1 2 3 means 1 2 3 4. So it stop at 4 means it is start at 4 means that it stop at 4 means that it is considering the before one value. If you consider 5, it works, means it considers still 4 only, so it won't consider the 5. It accepts the particular last value of the rows. the value of last row. And step, I'm going to select the step, the one step. Means I'm going to add 0, 1, 0 plus 1, 1, and 1 plus 1, 2, and 2 plus 1, 3. So like that, I'm going to use the step. So this is how you can understand access. And if you want to create a empty series, so you can understand what will be the values comes here. So you can see this. So this is my series I created having 4 observations. So I am asking that, is the object empty? Is the series empty or not? It is saying that the series having some observations, so that is showing that false because it has series. So it is not an empty series. It is a complete series which is having some observations. So that's why it's giving false. Suppose if I remove the observations here and if I run it again, so you can understand the series has false. What is showing this? Okay, let me check. Series 0. Yes. So I'm having the series with means zero observations. I don't have any observations. So now I'm asking to print that the object which I create in the series is an empty object, or the particular series having empty observations or not. So it is doing yes, the series which you created is empty. So it is saying that true. So this is how you can use the NTM or the basic constant. And if you want to check how many rows in column, means in R, how we can use to check the n dimension, how many rows and columns are exist in my data frame. So like that we are using for series and data frame. So I'm going to print those things again. So let me check. So here in R we are using n dimension of particular data set. Here it's not like that. You have to present the data frame here dot n dimension, so it will print the particular series. So dimension is 1, means it has only the rows values. There is no columns in series. So that's why it's printing the dimension is 1, means one dimensional. Suppose if you want to check how many observations having in your particular series, so you can easily create those things. So you can see check. So I have 4 observations in my data, so it is presenting here. So this is my length of particular series. So I want to check how the initial series is there, means the head of series, means the initial rows, how what are the values, and the last rows how are they. So I'm going to create a series with having a random number 6 different random number. I'm going to print first original series, then I'm going to check the first 2 rows of the data series and last 2 rows of the data series. So first 2 rows I'm going to use head of 2 and last I'm going to use tail. So this is as like R itself. So in R also we are using head of data, tail of data. So here we are using data of first we are using the data dot head, and that is the only difference compared to means in R and Python. So to print the head and tail of the data the series here. So let me print this. It might take some time because I'm running the whole thing at a time. So it will take some time. So to print the overall thing. So I hope this understood. So in R also we are using this head of particular data. So it is creating first n rows, means it's creating first 5 values. So like here also it's creating the same first rows, and tile also the same way it's going to be create. It's taking too much time. Yes. So the original series is like this, and first row is 0, 1, 2. So this is the first row, and the last two rows. So it is shown here. So now you can understand how you can check the first and second row. So as like what I have done for series, so the same thing I'm going to do it for the data frame here. So I'm going to create a series of the data means complete series of dictionaries in my data frame. So I'm going to create the data frame, the dictionary, which is having name, and age and rating using the series. So this is the variable name, and this is the series I'm going to add here, and this is my age variable, and this is series. So let me print this. So I'm going to print it in my data frame. I'm going to convert this into data frame. So now it is now you can get the beautiful data frame here. So just having aligned rows and columns, and giving a clear idea about how you can means how your data is, and what are all the variables and what are all the rows having with your data frame. So then I'm going to create one more means I'm going to transpose this. Means how can I transpose rows into columns and columns into rows? So using the particular data frame. So if you this is the data frame which I am going to data frame I have, and dot t, if you use dot t it will do the transpose. So you can easily create this transpose of the data frame. So just create. So now you can see the beautiful transformed data frame. So rows are columns, columns are rows now. So this is how you can easily create transpose of particular data frame. And as I explained in the beginning that how to check n dimensional, and also the same thing it will be useful. See, it is showing two dimensional. When I check this into the check this in series, it was showing one dimension. So now it is two dimension. So because data frame is two dimensional, means it has rows and columns, but that is the series having only the rows. So that's why it was one dimension and this two dimension. So if you want to check the shape of this particular data set, it will give the complete shape. Yes. So I have 7 rows and 3 columns. So this is how it's going to be work. So now let's be going back to my PPT to explain what are all the descriptive statistics can be done using Panda's library. So these are all the descriptive statistics, and these are all the description of that particular function which is existing in pandas, especially when we are doing descriptive statistics. Suppose if you want to count all the observations in your data, so non-null observations means it shouldn't have the null value. So using count function, you can easily find out how many observations are there, and using some function you can add overall the values, mean, median. So I hope everybody having idea about these observation, this particular functions. So this is how the description and all. So I'm just going back to my coding part. So there only I'm going to explain this how it is working, and how can be done with coding. So initially I'm going to, as usual, count including null value. So that I will be explained on the coding. So I'm going to create a series of dictionary. So let me convert this into data frame. So these are all my this is my data frame, means this is my data set. Now I'm going to add sum. So when you add sum, it will by default it will consider the column wise. It's going to be count column wise like this. So if you give 0 here, that is same thing it's doing, it's considering the column wise sum. So it will add this and it will give the sum. See, for the character variable, it's going to add, but because it doesn't know what he means, what the particular code wants to be. So that's why it is adding the names and it will be here. So for our understanding, for the understanding means, if you have the minimum the common things that we cannot add the character variable, so then I think you can understand this easily. So but this particular code, particular software doesn't understand whether we can add a character or not. So you need to define it whether you want to add this one, or if you don't want, so you can skip this and you can add other variables. So by default, when you give sum, so it will consider only the numerical. It's going to be make the sum for the only particular variables. And suppose if I want row wise, so how can I find the sum? So df dot sum using if you give 1, if you give 0, it will do column wise. If you give 1, it will create row wise. So now it is calculating 25 for 29.23. So it's going to be 29.23. So it's going to give you row wise sum for all the variables. So this is how sum is working here. And if you want to find out the average value of the particular data frame, you can easily create. So when you give the statistical words, so it is strict and it can easily understand that I should not do, I cannot find mean for the character variable. So it's going to be print only the column the particular variable which is in the integer or numerical variables. So if you want to give, if you want to find out standard deviation, so you just give std. So it will give the standard deviation for or both the variables. So if you give if you want to check the median value, so you can give median, so it will give. So if you want to identify the count numbers, so it will give total count of the observations. So this is how it's going to be count. Means it will count the, the count is working based on like this. So it will consider all the observations. So, so this is how the count function is working. And describe function means how we are using in our summary of the data. So the same thing here, describe will work. So if you click on this, it will give the overall the description, means statistics, how many counts are there, and how many means different statistical things. This is the average, standard deviation, this is a minimum value, and 25% 25% quartile, 50% for 75% quartile, and maximum. So if you want to check the interquartile range Q3 minus Q1, so it will easily give us thing. So this is how the basic statistics can be done by using Panda library, and this is how the basic functionalities of Pandas working. So I think I'm going to stop the today's session for this much. So I'll be coming with remaining things which is done by using pandas in the coming class, in the next class. So I'm going to finish the pandas library in next class. So I think at that time we will be fine with how to doing different kind of things in pandas. So anybody having any questions, you can ask me the questions about today's session. So anybody having questions, you can unmute your mic and you can ask the questions. So
He